Marius, welcome to Marketing Blueprint. Thank you so much for accepting my invite. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great here in Hong Kong, Julian. Thanks for having me.
Well, that's one of the great things, talking to brilliant marketing people. I have the opportunity to talk to people in the US, in Europe, and even in Asia. That's actually where we've met. So it's quite a pleasure to be able to talk to you back in Hong Kong. If you don't mind, I would like to start by giving a little bit of your background, what I know of your background, and feel free to fill the gaps afterwards, just to give a little bit context. So you've had quite a few marketing roles in your career, but mostly in F&B, food and beverage, and hospitality industry. You've worked at Ovolo for a while, which is where you and I met and worked together. You've worked at Eaton. Right now you work in the Perita Group. You also happen to have an MBA, which I believe you studied in the middle of your work at Ovolo, or just after. I can't remember how that worked out, from the Hong Kong University. And correct me if I'm wrong, if it's just my memory acting out, but I believe at some point in your early days, you even got to write speeches for political parties or whatever that was. I somehow remember this. Maybe I dreamt it.
That's a little. I had my undergrad was in poli-sci. I did do some media work, especially early on in Asia, like some, working with some media companies, editing speeches and things like that. But nothing as exciting as politics. Although my family and I'm based originally from Washington D.C., which is where a lot of that sort of stuff happens. That's a good summary of my initial career here in Hong Kong. I came out here. I started out actually in the insurance business, doing lots of marketing work, SEO, SEM, sort of little digital marketing, optimizing little customer journeys for different portals. From there, I went to the hotel space and just started in communications. My whole strategy was to stay in Asia, but not become an English teacher. No offense to any teachers out there. I finished school. And I just did not want to go in on the other side in the classroom. It just didn't seem appealing to me. But I really wanted to stay in the in the exciting new world of Asia as long as I could, and see what I could do to contribute here and make a living. And working initially in hospitality and in copywriting, in communications, and in marketing, sort of how I got my jump in.
You are pretty much. I mean, you said you're originally coming from Washington D.C. You're pretty much a CBA by now, a Chinese-born American, and I completely relate to your feedback on not being an English teacher. I had to be a French teacher in Hong Kong in the early days. Lucky for me, you make more money as a French teacher than an English teacher in Hong Kong. Fortunately for you.
No joke. I'm sure if I stayed a teacher, I don't know if I need to be doing these podcasts. It's a solid career. You get into the right programs, and Godspeed. But it never appealed to me. But I really wanted to be part of. And I was never really a finance guy. I mean, like you asked me earlier, I'm terrible with measurements and numbers and that sort of level. So I knew I wanted to be something a bit creative, a bit fun, and something that could really grow. And especially in the digital space, coming right at the cusp of social media marketing and all of that, it gave me a chance to get my teeth in, get my hooks in.
Because now you are really an all-round kind of marketing profile, touching a little bit of everything, even though your DNA, I would say, is really communication and PR. And I remember back when we worked together, you were also doing guest management and some kind of customer service as well. So you were very much linked to you really much keeping your finger on the pulse of what customers think and feel. And that's something that was quite unique to your background. And I must say, you're probably the most incredible and creative writer I've had a chance to work with, which is one of the many reasons why I absolutely wanted you on that podcast. So what does it take, in your eyes, what does it take to be a great marketer today?
I mean, that's a huge question. There's so many different types of marketing, but I think knowing a lot, I think knowing the background of every role in the company, because everyone everyone at some point thinks they have an opinion on what you do in marketing, because you're a cost center, right? You're someone who's not necessarily contributing directly to sales, directly to operational excellence, but you should know exactly what they're doing, where their pain points are, and what they're not communicating to their target audience. And I think you come at a point of championing all the, you want to contribute for the benefit of your entire team, your entire organization, however it can be. And I think if you come at it from like a team focus, like almost like a fanatical sports team, like these are your guys and you're evangelizing your product, you're evangelizing your service. I mean, for me, it's like, I just jump in and I want to know everything about the role. I want to know everything, every part of the business I'm involved with. I just feel, passionately about sort of promotion and driving, interest, eyeballs, and then ultimately value as well. So I think some people really want to do marketing, but they're not really that interested in the field. And I think, or they're not interested in the business they're being forced to work with. And I think you have to have that initial passion, and then you'll work out how you can best drive value across the marketing funnel for whoever you're working for.
You said something just now that I can very much relate to. You said everyone has an opinion about marketing. And I mean, every role, every company I've been at, whether people are in sales, customer service, development, whatever it is, everyone has an opinion about marketing. And it does sound, I mean, seen from outside, marketing seems to be something incredibly simple to do. And it's only once you start getting into marketing that you realize the complexity and the thinking that's required to, whether it's starting a campaign or writing a social media post that's actually going to be relatable for your customer. There's a lot of work. That's why marketing is a career and not just a hobby. How do you live with that? How do you deal with people always having an opinion, always giving you advice on how they would do things differently if they were in your seat?
It's a good question. I mean, and you can't avoid the question because so much of marketing, especially for my field, hospitality, so much of it is done based on social media, which is very visible to anyone who wants it. Your teams, your boss's wife, anyone who can see it. And a lot of people have opinions, and I think it's important to be open to not just shut people down, especially people within the company, because the first idea they bring you might not be great. But if you maintain openness to people's input, maybe 2, 3, 4, 10, 100 days down, 100 ideas down the pipeline, one will reach you and it'll hit you in an interesting way about, oh, I never thought about it that way. But in general, you have to have confidence. You have to have, the more campaigns you've run in your career, the more companies you've worked with, the bigger your track record is. And even if someone in the short term is giving you grief, know that your skill, your personality, your expertise has brought you to that level. And don't, there's a good Latin phrase like illegitimum non carborundum. Don't let the bastards get you down. Don't let critique distract you from your vision. But don't be cocky. Be open, but be truthful to who you are. That was a bit of a mouthful. I'm sorry.
That's something. Actually, that's very much aligned with the image I have of you. We've been working together for a while. I see you as I said, an incredible writer. However, incredibly humble as well. I don't even understand how you get to that level of being humble, because whatever feedback you get, you always manage to share it as if it was entirely a team effort, which I find pretty amazing about you. But I've also seen you always as a kind of a unique personality. You are the guy who's still in Hong Kong. How many years have you been there? 17 or 20 years now?
No, just 12, I think. And actually, I was in Shanghai in between as well for a bit.
Sure.
For better or for worse, I'm stubborn, I suppose. I just didn't want to, once I'd sort of started working here, I just wanted to sort of stick it out. And the more people left, the more I thought, hey, I'm still here. I must be doing something right, or the force would be stronger, I suppose. But I suppose I feel very. My personality, I wouldn't say I'm anything that special. Maybe I don't think the humbleness comes from anywhere except just genuine humility, and also being aware that I see so much great work every day from so many other people that who am I to jump in? And actually one of the things that I think, at least since we worked with each other about 6-7 years ago, I know you're the same, that now I have more people under me now who were my age when I first started doing this. And I get way more joy, and I get way more value out of seeing how they contribute and how I can help them grow than anything I can particularly do now. At least I've noticed that myself in the last 2 years.
And do you feel to be successful in your marketing career, it's better to be somehow unique, somehow different, or it's better to, follow the trend and be the same as everyone else? Because I've always seen you as someone who's, you said the word stubborn earlier. If you have an idea and you believe the idea is great, you're going to follow it. You're still going to get feedback from people and accept it, but you want to follow your idea, which is what makes you so creative. Does it bring you troubles in your daily marketing life? Is it better to just follow whatever guidance you get, or is it important to stick with your ideas and the path you're creating for yourself?
Well, it depends what you're working on. I think in my industry, hospitality, a B2C business, you have to be malleable. You have to be able to tap into the cultural zeitgeist, because every year your customer base is changing slightly, and your next generation of people are coming through, and they've had a different media, they've had a different reference landscape, and you have to cater to that. I wish I could do it even more, to be honest. And I mean, I'm not really a big I'm in marketing, but I'm not really a big social media guy. Not because I think it's a bad thing. It's just because I don't have that. Similar to you, actually, I kind of grew up a little bit skeptical of giving all my personality, my data away, and it kind of stopped me from really jumping whole hog into this. But I have so much respect for the marketers, and the podcasters and the content makers who are doing things that get mass audiences, because what they're doing is not vapid. It's real, and it's impressive, and so they're following trends, so they're popular. I think popularity is on some levels is a measurement of some success, especially when it comes to marketing, especially nowadays when there's generally a more open platform for everybody to participate.
And what about studies? I was saying earlier that you, after a few years in marketing, you started studying an MBA in Hong Kong. I'm wondering if that's what brought you to Shanghai as well. I can't remember. Was that worth it? Is it something you would recommend other people to do? Was it just for yourself, or was it for your career? And do you feel it gave you whatever it is you expected from that MBA after you got the actual degree? Should people get into an MBA to help boosting their marketing career, or how do you feel about that?
That's a good question. I think for me it was actually a personal thing, because I'd come out of college and I'd worked for 10 years, and I needed a break. But at the same time, but I also wanted to have some letters on my name. Even I wouldn't say it matters, but I had savings. I was living quite frugally. My old apartment in Hong Kong was 120 square feet or something crazy. I can't believe I lived in I was really saving up a lot, and I wasn't sure what to do. And then I spent it on my education, which gave me a lot of opportunities. The MBA, what I benefited most from was meeting different master students from around the world, learning actually how they work, working with them for goals, and also learning enough about different fields, be it finance, accounting, operations, supply chain. It helps to learn these things in marketing, especially if you're in that sort of marketing BD role, where it's not just writing a social media post or doing a fancy poster or campaign. You actually have to find business value for Operation X of some company, and it helps at that point to have some bent general knowledge, not be intimidated by fields that aren't necessarily in marketing. But with that said, I've heard that an MBA is not necessarily for everybody. I 100% agree. I don't think if you're already on a good career path, if you're already in a field that you like, or even if you think I don't think you need to necessarily invest, but it's also if you have a good network already in whatever community you want to be in, think that's great too. So it's really up to personal preference. I definitely don't think it's ever bad to get more education. I'm not someone who's done like any of these online degrees. I've done a couple of certificates, so I've never really done a substantial online learning course. So I'm not sure what the alternative is on that regard. But for me, overall, it was a positive experience. And actually, to be honest, like, I don't know how anyone else feels, but my undergrad, I think I was too young. I went to college when I was like, 17, 18. I don't think I was ready for that level of learning, or that level of, that sort of learning environment at that point. But then when my master's came around, I felt way more sort of, okay, this is actually, I want to put in the work, and I want to really be the man, be the businessman, be the contributor to a company, tomorrow, not like, in some distant time.
What's interesting here is that before your MBA, you were in the hospitality industry, and after your MBA, you pretty much decided to stick to the same industry, where it could have been a path for you to try something different. Why sticking to that? That's something where you and I are very different. I've tried multiple industries in the past. I don't care too much about the industry I'm in. You seem to care a lot. Is it because you build an expertise that's going to make you even better at your job next time you are in the same industry? Is it because you just have a passion for that industry and you don't want to go somewhere else? Is it because just one opportunity leading to another, you've just been staying in the same industry, but that was not the purpose in the first place? Why are you been evolving in that industry specifically? And would that be something you recommend to other people trying to build their marketing career? Is it better to stick to one industry? Is it better to try a few things? Why have you done what you've done?
I wish I could interview as good as you, Julian, because I would love to try more. I actually have done a few different industries. Like, actually, after the MBA, I jumped into consulting for a little bit, and I worked a little bit in FMCG marketing, and I did a little bit of other sort of market entry consultancy for products into China, and a couple other sort of small works as well. But yeah, I came back to hospitality because my network was there, and I found opportunities easier to come by there. But with that said, with these most recent jobs, I'm taking on more roles and working with more vendors in other spaces. It wasn't until I worked with my current job that I started working in app development, and I also worked in sort of CRM development, like, and also more now in operations and other elements. So the industry to me is, I like hospitality as well. I just like the people in it. In general, nothing makes me feel better than going to a nice restaurant, a nice bar, seeing a beautiful concept, having a great evening come to life based on choices made by company or operator X. When it all comes together for me, it feels quite nice. But it's not that I'm doing the same thing across every different role I'm in. I learn so many new things about different elements of the business, but contributing to it in an overall marketing title. You remember when we were working together, our titles were in marketing, but we were really doing all manner of. Our scope of work did not follow what was written on the paper. We were really doing a little bit of everything, if I recall correctly.
Which I would agree, and that's probably what I love. Not just in that company. That's one of the things I love the most about marketing, is that you get a variety of things you can do that however great the job description may be, is not going to capture everything you're going to be working on. And you don't have 2 days that are really the same. You have trends and skills that you're going to be using over and over again, but you happen to work on things. You never get bored in marketing. I never got bored of marketing. That's probably one of the things I love the most. And with someone like you who is so creative, you really got a chance to dig into that part and make your job unique. However, earlier you talked about the fact that you're not a numbers guy. In marketing nowadays, we feel more and more the need to track everything, and especially now you're in digital as well. You're not just doing PR communication and all of this. You're in digital, so I guess there is more and more of an ask of tracking and reporting and ROI and all of these things. How do you take that in, and how does it work with your creative brain having to be a little bit more analytical than was necessary 10 years ago?
Luckily, so much of the, not luckily, but it's a good question. No, really, it's especially in hospitality. You're judged every day. You're going to be judged every hour, every meal period, whether you've done done a good job or not, and how many extra covers or how many extra guests or how many extra dollars spent per head you've driven, like that. It's really beneficial to know those things, and measuring this back to whatever input you've provided. It really does I'm very much welcome to it, and I think it actually kind of it definitely does not a dampener on creativity. It actually rewards. It can reward it in certain ways. It gets you quickly to either embrace new concepts or also drop bad ones that you might have think an idea is great, but like the numbers will be a real big ego check. So I'm the idea that that the stats are sort of the enemy of marketing. I'm not on board with that really at all. Sorry, that wasn't a great answer. I'll think about that later.
Do you happen to have other marketers in your family, or are you the only one?
I'm the only one that I know of. A couple, yeah. That's a really. I never thought about that. There are no other marketers per se in my immediate family. My family's quite small, so we just have people in sort of various swaths of finance, medicine, and teaching and things like this. I've never had a familial conversation about marketing. Actually, good point.
So what was your dream job as a kid? How did you get to marketing? If that's not your dad telling you should study marketing, how on earth did you embrace this career?
Well, I don't think anyone's dream job is marketing, because as a kid you don't really realize what marketing is. I think my dream job as a kid was to be like a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something. I was just out in the field having fun all day. Like
that's my daughter's dream right now, being a T-Rex. So you share that with her.
Great. No, I mean, marketing is the study of people. It's the study of business. It's the study of persuasion. It's the study of all manners, all manners of business and work. And I never really thought about it as a direct career. It's just me contributing to teams, helping a product or helping a service grow to the best of my ability. And I never really think about it in terms of like a box like that. But that's also because, like I said before, I didn't really have the plan to go into this field. I just wanted to be somewhere and start working, and whatever it took me to get to start, I was going to stick with it.
So if you were to stop your marketing career today, what would you be doing with your life? If it's not being an English teacher, what is the other thing you would be doing?
It's a good question. I might do a little bit of travel. I wouldn't mind like starting some sort of business, some sort of consultancy. I guess can it relate to marketing, or do I have to like completely not involve this at all anymore? This weird hypothetical.
Rules are not that strict.
No, so I do have some entrepreneurial sort of like shoots, and I'd probably start my own little business. And yeah, I'm something like
you don't have to be. So apparently, it's not something you've thought about before. So you seem to be very happy in marketing.
I'm a worker bee, man. I maybe it's a sad thing to do, but I feel like work gives me meaning and a purpose every day to wake up and help my company, help the help keep the cogs moving. I don't really think too much on some hypotheticals like this. I would say that I would like in the future to have a bit more of a charitable bent. I used to do quite a bit of CSR for previous jobs we worked with, but it's something I've kind of let get away from me, and it's something I wouldn't mind bringing back.
And if you had a chance to build, that beautiful time machine everyone wished they had, and you could talk to your younger self, what would be that piece of advice you wish you had from the older Marius 15 years ago?
15 years ago? Okay. Well, I would tell myself, because I was a pretty stressed out 20-year-old guy, as you knew me back then. So I'd tell myself that don't worry, things will be okay. No one's going to chop your head off. I'd also tell myself to buy Bitcoin and Amazon and Apple stock and all those good moves. But actually, I would honestly, I would build more of a digital presence for myself or a hypothetical company that was founded by me earlier. I was a bit hesitant at the start, and I feel like knowing those skills, like having the platforms built in early, not only gives you the long tail discoverability, but it just helps to start early. Embrace new platforms and embrace new products, especially when they're pitched by these giant tech conglomerates, because they spend a lot of resources to help them grow. And if you're in there earlier, if you're in Reels, or you're in, I don't know, Vine, you're in these platforms really, even as a company or as a thought leader or anything like that, you seem to reap pretty good benefits.
Actually, talking about the benefits and skills and learnings you could acquire earlier in your career, one thing I mentioned earlier that I really love about your background is the fact that you've done guest management in the early days of your career. Now, many years later, I'm doing marketing, but I'm also in customer experience. And that's something that I feel is incredibly related to marketing. And that's a skill that's incredibly important because it really feeds the way you think about marketing. Do you feel that has actually helped your career? Do you think you look at marketing differently from other marketers because you've been so close to customers for a long time?
Yes, I do, because for two reasons that come to my mind, top of mind. I mean, one, it keeps me very conscious of the guest experience and the guest's idea of what time is to them, like when they're in the service or when they're enjoying the product or when they have the time to leave the review. I kind of have a bit of the mentality of where they saw a disconnect or where in the service that did not meet their expectation, and I have a lot of empathy for them, especially if it's something that we really messed up on, be it in hotels, restaurants, or other services. And secondly, also, I think you should experience negative customer relations early on, so you're not terrified of them when they get brought up in later in your career, or and so you can sort of take things into more context. So I've seen all sorts of customer experiences go bad, I've seen customer experiences go great, but I've seen a lot of different things. So nothing particularly will at least faze me. And a lot of times, in marketing, we're not the guy, we're not the front line. Those frontline people take a lot of the flack, but we got to be there as like a buttress of support and not, never putting the blame culture on anyone. But you also have to I think being exposed to a lot of customer service just gives you a bit more sort of context, a bit more patience for how you deal with, I wouldn't say crises, but when you deal with consistent or rare guest complaints or customer service issues in the future.
And what about AI in all this? Because both in customer experience and obviously in marketing, AI is, everyone is talking about this. Not everyone is leveraging it yet, but everyone is talking about it. And I know quite a few people, both in customer experience, customer service, and in marketing, that starts to be a little bit afraid about what the future is going to be like with AI. Do I still have a job 10, 5, even 3 years, 2 years from now? Is AI going to replace me? Is it something that you start including in your strategy? Is it a tool that you use for marketing? Is it something that you fear? Is it something that's supporting you? What is your relationship with AI? How do you think marketing should be looking at artificial intelligence nowadays?
Well, I think this age of AI that's been brought upon us in the last 2 years, actually, first of all, it is exciting. I think it's better to approach this with relative, I wouldn't say optimism, but sort of get to it, intuitiveness. I don't think anyone who's afraid of AI taking their job, I would argue that I don't think a bot can take your job. I think someone who knows how to use AI to enhance their productivity more than yours consistently might take your job, or might offer a service that replaces your function in the company or your department's function. So I would be cognizant of that and definitely be aware of and at least start experimenting with some of these tools. There's obviously tremendous risk, and there's so much litigation that's going to happen with all these platforms, in the next couple of years, when it's to see like who's allowed to crawl what text and what they're allowed to learn from. So we're still very much at the beginning stage. I've not yet done AI-based chatbots. I know it's in the pipeline for sure. Not necessarily as a replacement, but as a efficiency tool for our guest relations team, so they don't have to constantly ask the same questions all the time. I mean, a lot of this is all stuff that you've definitely done for years already. And in terms of creative marketing, I think the copywriting and the image generation is still a little bit uncanny valley, but certainly it's getting better all the time. And I would be lying if I didn't say it wasn't a useful research tool, or at least like another perspective you could garner. But like I refuse to be fearful from this new age of technology. There's still a lot of chips to fall, and I think you just gotta be ready for it, and definitely keep learning about every platform that comes out. I would say that it'll be interesting to see, especially in Hong Kong. I don't know if you know this, but most of these new AI platforms that get launched here, they're no longer you have to go use a VPN to use them. They're no longer open to this territory. So it's almost like we're seeing AI. The Internet 2.0 only was a little bit of a split, but I think with AI we're going to see a much bigger split between, China, maybe Russia, maybe some other countries as well, and then the rest of the West. So it's also politically, it's also interesting too.
Yeah, definitely something. Just don't miss the opportunity. You were saying earlier, you feel like you've missed a little bit social media. You could have created your website or your social platforms quite a few years ago, and now you would benefit from a few years of being present online. Whatever it is with AI, don't miss that one if you think that could help your future career. I have one final question for you, Marius. You said earlier about what advice you would give your younger self about don't be afraid, everything's going to be fine. What piece of advice would you have for young marketers fresh out of school, thinking about building a strong marketing career, whatever that means? What would be your piece of advice to these people who want to take a similar path to the one you've taken so far?
It's a good question. I think it's key to always be creating something for yourself. Always be creating and learning new skills. Don't just be. It's tempting nowadays just to be constantly entertained, to be constantly marketed to, and just waste the hours away, and just take a little bit of time for yourself and not necessarily study, but think about how you can create your own. It's not even journaling, or even just basic it sounds very pedantic, but just basic exercises in your own creativity, away from distraction or away from other marketing forces, or even taking time to study the marketing forces and thinking oh, why is this ad effective to me, or what do these guys do that's great? Spend a bit. I think it's key to spend a little bit of time on the other side of the looking glass, if you want to be in marketing, and then you can sort of use what you've learned for yourself in the future.
I truly love that. That's probably the most inspiring piece of advice I've heard in a while. That's something that I actually never phrased it this way, but that's something I apply to myself. Always, I mean, this podcast
you create a lot of different products for yourself. Books, podcasts, websites. I'm sure you have other things I'm not paying attention to for a while. But the key is to be making these things, because actually the secret sauce of why platform X or channel Z is so effective is because people keep using them. To make these things more effective, you must keep using them.
I could not agree more. Thank you so much for that huge dose of inspiration and insights, Marius. It was a pleasure having you on the Marketing Blueprint podcast. I hope you enjoyed the experience.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.